Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to try not to kill ourselves whilst installing a new USB plug socket. Okay, so today we've got a 2-gang USB UK wall socket plug thing, 13 amp, and it's got 2 USB charging ports. Now the reason for this is because we've installed a Xiaomi Dafang camera, which is up there somewhere, which if you want to see the video on how we installed that, you can click on the link up over here and you can watch how that was brutally installed by wrecking the cupboards. But anyway, I digress. Moving on, the USB cable is plugging into a wall socket there, which is fine, it works, but it's not the greatest, and it's pink and it stands out like a sore thumb. So what I thought I'd do is replace the 2-gang socket with one of these with USB ports. So I can plug the USB straight in there, and then I've still got a free socket to plug something else into. So, I hated doing electrics, but let's give it a go and see what happens, and hopefully I won't electrocute myself. Now obviously, first things first, what you're going to need to complete this job, you're going to need, obviously, it's going to be the socket itself. Now this one I got from Amazon, about £10 with the 2.1 amp. They've got an upgraded version of this actually, because I've had this for a little while. Which has got a 3.1 amp charger, so great for charging things like, well, powering things such as the Xiaomi camera for one, things like tablets, any high power devices. So 3.1 amps is great for charging things, 2.1 amps good for iPads, that sort of thing. Anyway, I digress. So you're going to need one of them. What you may also need as well is some snips in case you've got to trim some wires down inside the back box, a selection of flat bladed screwdrivers. I've got a large, medium, and I've also got a plastic insulated stubby screwdriver which is reversible, so depending on what connections are on the back to release the cables. Another thing you may want, which again is entirely up to you, is a level of some sort, laser level, so when you're putting the socket back on the wall you can make sure that it's nice and straight when you put it on. Optional, cup of coffee to keep you going. So first things first, safety, let's turn the mains off so the socket isn't live and we don't kill ourselves. So I've got a telephone plugged in there, and I've also got the charger, so when I turn the breaker off in the fuse box, all of this should turn off, therefore meaning there's no power and it's safe to use. So let's go and turn it off. Okay, so this is under the stairs. Here is the breaker box. Now the kitchen, from when we wired it up, is set to the ring main basement, so let's kill that switch and let's go back into the kitchen and hopefully the items are dead. So we've disconnected everything, so first thing to do is undo the screws that hold the plate on the wall. I should do a slightly bigger screwdriver there. So the theory is with a lot of these sockets and the replacements, etc., is they're generally all wired pretty much the same. So you've got your live, your neutral, and either a single or twin earth, depending on when it was installed and who your installer was and when it was done, etc., etc. So let's pull some of the cables through a bit and see if we can get a bit of working room. So this particular installation, we've got your incoming and outgoing neutral and live, and you've got a single earth go into a single part on there. So that's pretty straightforward. So actually, while the socket's off, we could probably give this a little bit of a clean up as well while we're at it. But, let's get the cables disconnected and ready to connect our new socket. Looking at the new version, it looks like the terminals are in a slightly different place, so we might have to adjust some of the cables, move them around a little bit just to make it fit. But again, it shouldn't be too much of a problem, so let's get on and disconnect it. Okay, so hopefully this is, well, it's not the greatest of camera angles, but you can see where the cables fit in. So you've got your live here, you've got your neutral, and then over there you've got your earth. So let's get these disconnected, if we can actually get to them. Quite often these sockets are quite difficult to get to. Okay, so as you can see now we've got the box off. So you can see the exposed wires. So we've got our 2 live, 2 neutral, and the earth coming through. So what we need to do now is line these up so they'll connect into the live, the neutral, and the earth. And you can see they're color coded on the top with the usual UK markings. So brown for live and blue for neutral. And obviously yellow and green for the earth. Okay, so live we want on the other side, so let's take these around a little bit. So we want live, then we want neutral, and last of all then we want our earth, which needs to be a bit more exposed. Okay, so we'll loosen off the terminals a little bit, because as you can see the screw is currently all the way in. So we'll take that out as far as it'll go. Ideally you want to get the cables in as far as they'll possibly go. And actually this feels like they're captive screws, so that's actually a really good thing that they're captive, so they're not going to come flying out. Yeah, no, they're captive screws, so they're not going to fly out. British General, you've done something good, well done. Give yourselves a big pat on the back. And before we connect this all up, let's take out the screws, because we're going to need those in a bit when we put it back on the wall. Now you may find that if your back box is recessed quite a lot, you might need to use the longer screws rather than the ones that are provided. So because this wall's pretty recessed and we've got some thick tiles and we've got the quite thick plasterboard plus the recessed box, then we're not going to use the new screws, we're going to use the old ones again because they're much longer. So we won't be using those, but what we will be using is the blanking caps to put over the screws after, so they just pop on in there just to give it a nice clean look when you're done. And actually you get 2 sets of those, so if you've got other ones in the kitchen which you've already put in but you've not capped, then you've got some spares. So let's attempt to get this connected. So which side should we start with? Let's start with the earth, I think. Actually no, let's start with live, because that's quite far over. I don't know if you can see this, but it is quite tricky. So those are in, and we'll tighten that up. Now when you're doing these up, make sure you do them nice and tight, because if they're loose, they will get heat generated where the electric is trying to bridge the gap. Yeah, you'll get heat generating where the electricity is trying to bridge the gap. And when you do them up, make sure you give them a tug to make sure they're all okay. And yeah, that's in pretty good. So let's go ahead now and stick in the neutral. It's difficult, really difficult to tell. It would have been better if the original electrician would have left slightly longer tails on there, so you could have wound it around, but that isn't the case. So let's make sure it's nice and tight. Yeah, that's in pretty good. So finally, come around to doing the earth, which again is a little bit on the short side, a bit like me. Sometimes you've got to force these in a little bit. Now, if you're in any way, shape or form concerned that what you may or may not be doing is right or wrong, then just don't even attempt it. Get yourself a qualified electrician, and it's a much safer thing to do. I've done quite a few of these in the past, and not had any problems so far, so all's good. Whew, getting on a bit of a sweat. Let's have a quick slurp of tea before we carry on. Or coffee. Right, so while we're here, we'll just get rid of our overspill of putty or whatever it was. Or grout, I think it is. And give it a quick wipe around with a damp cloth. not a wet one because there's electricity and that'd be a bad idea. And just double check all the fixings are in the right place and secure. Again, I'm not a qualified electrician, so don't take any of this as being gospel. I just noticed that back lot of screw was hanging out, so there's not a lot of clearance on the back of there, so we'll tighten it up just to be on the safe side. And now we'll try and get this to line up, which is never easy. That one is connected. Quite often putting these screws in takes a few attempts. Oh, building up a sweat here. But obviously just keep persevering. If you've got plasterboard walls, those are a little bit easier, but a few attempts and you should get your screws in. My recommendation would be to screw them up so that they pinch, so they're close to the wall but not quite tight, and then you can have a bit of room for adjustment should they not be straight, or should it not be straight rather. So when you get to it being tight, just loosen off a little bit, a couple of turns, and you get your level on it. That's pretty much about level, somewhere there. So now we can do a final tighten down. And I don't do them too tight because it is only plastic and they do have a tendency to break. Okay, so there we go. That's our screws done up, and it's quite a nice tidy fit on there. So it's probably tempting fate, but I'm going to put the caps on anyway just to finish the job. So now all that's left is to turn the mains back on and give it a test. So off to the mains board. Okay, so we're back at the circuit breaker. So the ring main basement, let's fire that one back on, and it hasn't tripped and kicked itself back off, so we know we haven't got any short circuits. So let's go back to the kitchen. So after all that, we found the instruction manual. Right, so we've got our sockets. And they're nice and clicky, so first thing to do I suppose, let's try and plug in our USB for our Defang camera. And that's lit up, so that's a good sign. And what else can we plug in? Let's plug in our RAV power charger. Ooh, gold, drops it. This is the RAV power twin charger for Sony MP batteries. If you want to find out more about this and the lights that I use with it, then you can click on the link up over here. Not there, here, up there. See the little eye? There's a little eye. Click on that. And there we go, success, we've got charging lights. So that means we've got power there. The fuse box hasn't tripped out, so that's working. And we've now got our Defang camera's got the little blue light on, and everything's working great. So, I'll chalk that up as being a success. So, I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and that has been the B&G 2-gang 2.1 amp USB charging socket, and we'll catch you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.